And welcome back to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call-in talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is May 12th, 2018. This is the 44th episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We use Discord as a means to add and drop calls to talk about video games and switch the power that is found in a typical gaming podcast. You can join our server to participate during recordings at rhymeswithasia.com/call. On today's episode, the pro participants for the Super Smash Bros. Invitational in our headline roundup. Our main topic is Walmart's E3 spoilers, and then we will get to your calls if you are tuning in live on Discord. So, some interesting housekeeping today. Like I'm teasing on Twitter. It's like, oh, we got some big life developments here at the top of the show, and I'm literally just sliding in here. I wanted to have, our usual Saturday 2 p.m. Eastern time slot, and I'm like, guys, we got to push it to 3. Let's try 3 p.m. Eastern, first of all, just to see, does the time change help? Does it hurt? I'm not sure. But also, my wife and I were out doing a pretty big errand among all the other errands, and it turns out we have started the application process to get a puppy. So that will be a big life change. If I've done my due diligence, I've put up a picture here on the video version. So if you're listening to audio, tune in there. I don't want to start, saying names or confirmed or all that, because it's a matter of, we've right now saying it's going to pick him up on Monday. So maybe by the time this goes up, that'll be in process. But yeah, so this weekend is going to be cleaning. It's going to be, puppy proofing a house. It's going to be buying accessories, but the guy's just too stinking cute. So really excited about that. Let's talk about video games, though it is almost the sports call-in talk radio format applied to video games. And we're going to start with the big headlines from this week in our headline roundup. We start with the continued hype for E3 2018, and that goes to Sony. We were wondering what they were going to do with this year's E3 and what their plans were. I mean, after all, we're almost like less than a month away at this point. And so Sony came out, they had Sean Layden on their PlayStation blogcast talking about their plans, and it seems like they'll mix things up a little bit this year. Of course, the time frame is still Monday evening. This is June 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It sounds like they're talking about a non-traditional form, or breaking from tradition, at least from how they've had their past couple years, where it's been trailer after trailer after trailer, putting it in movie theaters, things like that. Clarifications have been that there will be a live audience. It will still be a stage show, but you have to realize that Sony's first parties are basically all accounted for with PS4 games, either just released or ones still planned. This, of course, coming after, Days Gone just is getting a month of promotion in Game Informer. Had the first hour come out with the directors there. That should be interesting to watch if you're curious about Days Gone from Sony Bend Studio. But for E3 2018, they're talking about deep dives on 4 first-party games. We're talking Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, and Spider-Man. They also talk about there'll be, third-party partner and indie announcements and more surprises like that. But it definitely seems like a kind of in a more scaled-down sort of format. When they first were talking about this, and they announced it through a podcast of all things, so it's interesting to think there. We're almost thinking like, is this going to be a Nintendo Direct style, where they very carefully craft the message? And it seems like it'll still be a stage show, right? But it'll just be very narrow focus. I mean, does that mean we'll see gameplay? I don't know. I might have to go and revisit some of those Sony predictions then when it comes to our contest, starting up in, almost a couple weeks at this point. So I'll give you details next episode there. But that's very exciting. There will be no hardware announcements. That's going to be a key thing that Sean Layden made it very clear to say. No hardware announcements. So lots of excitement there for Sony. If we're talking about the big 3, I think I'm personally most curious what Microsoft is going to do. They're in the most precarious position. I'm excited for how Nintendo continues Switch's success, certainly. But for Sony, we know these games exist. I want to see more of these games, and I'm really amped up to see that. But out of the big 3, if we're talking those players, Microsoft has the biggest gamble this year. Should be a very exciting E3, as we all know. Speaking of E3 2018, Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo Switch is going to have their invitational tournament. They'll have the Nintendo video showcase earlier in the day to kind of show off and focus on the game, so we'll see some stuff for Smash there. But then in-tournament play that evening on Tuesday night, the June 12th there. That should be a whole lot of fun. Nintendo announced the 8 professional players from the Super Smash Bros. Scenes that will be representing Nintendo in official capacity with this tournament. Of course, I'm sure they'll have, celebrities, other sorts of players come in for the tournament. But as far as the 8 pros, there are 4 from the Super Smash Bros. 4 scene and 4 from the Melee scene. On the Melee side, you have names such as Mango, Armada, Plup, and Lucky. Some people wondering, what about HBox? What about Hungrybox? On our chat, we were kind of pointing out, it's like, oh yeah, he did kind of call out Nintendo for how they weren't supporting Melee that much. That probably makes sense. A shame we won't see the Reggie rematch, but that's a very fair and well taken point. On the Smash 4 side, Zero coming out of retirement. Zero, of course, the champion of the Super Smash Bros. For Wii U Invitational Tournament back at E3 2014. So he'll be back for that. You also have MK Leo from Mexico, Abadango from Japan, and Mr. R from the Netherlands. So definitely getting more of an international flair in there. Of course, Armada from Sweden, but otherwise the rest of those Melee players are American representation. So I think a good overall list. That should be very exciting. We'll see how they'll compete in this new Smash game. I can't wait to see more of that. Also on the Smash Brothers front, there was a tweet from a developer, a programmer named Tiago Sonobe. And his Twitter account was @Tiago's Brain Dump. But the post and account have been deleted pretty much almost as quickly as they went up. People got screen caps. And Mr. Sonobe said, left Bandai Namco Studios before the production of Super #Smash Bros. Began. But the rendering engine it is built on was made by me. Smiley face, #Smash Bros. Switch. So if this is correct, and judging by the Nintendo Ninjas taking it down, it might be, that Bandai Namco could be co-developing this game with Nintendo. We've talked in the past where this could mean really good things for if we want characters and mechanics and all sorts of things from Smash 4 carrying over, at least using them as a foundation, building it up into a new game. So I think if that's the case, that is promising, especially if you want certain characters like Pac-Man to stay around. That definitely helps his chances. On the Nintendo Switch front as well, big Monster Hunter news. For a while, people wondering if Monster Hunter Double Cross was ever going to make it stateside from Japan. Double Cross, there's Monster Hunter X over there, which became Monster Hunter Generations here. They got Double Cross on the Switch, and the thought was that may never come to America. Capcom may not see Nintendo Switch as that big of a success. Well, apparently now they do. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is the game name, coming August 28th to North America on Nintendo Switch. That'll be Double Cross. That's exciting. Just for Monster Hunter fans, very satisfied with Monster Hunter World, Capcom's highest selling title of all time. Just announced. That's crazy. So the portable Monster Hunters, I think, are a bit different from that. It's not as open world. There's some gameplay mechanics that are slightly different, but you get the portable factor. And I think that's really important for fans of that series to continue the Nintendo representation of Monster Hunter. That was certainly big news this week as well. Battlefield 5, or Battlefield V as it's expected at least to be titled. Players were looking in Battlefield 1 and they found a room with an Easter egg that they went to a website which said that the next Battlefield will be revealed on May 23rd. So keep an eye out for that if you're excited about the next Battlefield. A sad front for Nintendo as Miitomo is ending its service. That is, Nintendo's first mobile game. And gosh, I remember for a very long time, at least beyond the first year of just logging into Miitomo every day, just getting the coins, not even necessarily participating in it, but just getting the coins, and of course never use them. Clearly over 100,000 coins just all gone to waste. So Miitomo has ended its run, but it will be remembered as Nintendo's first official mobile game. And also on the Nintendo side, Splatoon 2, there are rumors flying starting in the monthly Koro Koro comic over in Japan. People thought this was, it was at first attributed to Weekly Jump, and people were like, not there, and it looks like now it's Koro Koro. Now I guess we see a scan here. The big news being that I guess Splatoon 2 will have an announcement on June 9th, a Saturday of all days, that will, quote, shock the world. This started first in Gematsu. They were pulling from a Japanese website, but now that a scan's out there, it seems to be a deal. There's this Splatoon-like logo. Nintendo of Spain tried to say that this was not a thing, but they've said certain things like this before, and I think they're kind of being nitpicky. I don't know. So there's some back and forth of words. Take it what you will, but just keep an eye out for if Splatoon 2 does something on the Saturday before E3 to kind of quote unquote shock the world. I mean, Battle Royale, is that a game that could do a Battle Royale? I don't know. We'll see there. Let's get to our main topic though. We're going to talk about Walmart Canada having a quote unquote glitch on their website that leaked out a whole bunch of prospective E3 2018 announcements and titles. They're defending it, of course, by saying that, this is not guaranteed. These are not final names. It's just our speculation of what could happen. We look forward to the real announcement. So let's look at this list overall here. There are 11 titles that were at least surprising in some capacity. And I want to go through these 11 games from least surprising to most surprising, kind of get a gauge of where we kind of currently stand with them and what we think about some of these. So let's first start with Dragon Quest II on PS4 and Xbox One. Some people think, oh, what is this? Could it be some sort of remaster of Dragon Warrior Dragon Quest II? This is likely Dragon Quest Builders 2. We do have to remember that these names are not entirely accurate, as we'll see with certain other titles. But just something to keep in mind that, Dragon Quest Builders did rather well for Square Enix. So, and I believe Builders 2 has been announced, if already fully revealed in Japan. Least surprising here, Dragon Quest 2 is not a whole new thing. Builders in there would have helped a lot. I'm pretty sure, 90% sure that's what that's going to be. Then we have Forza Horizons 5. That's a little peculiar, isn't it? Of course, Forza Horizon 4 is the game that we expect this year from Turn 10 or whatever other studios that are helping work on that game. But to have Forza Horizons 5, a little peculiar as well. I'm sure, again, that's not going to be the real name, but, just saying that, yep, Forza Horizon will be out there. Lego DC Villains. Didn't even spell villains properly. Okay. Again, not too much of a surprise. I mean, Lego can do these things. They can really pick up any franchise, and it isn't a huge landscape shifter. So, yeah, I mean, DC Villains, okay, I can see that happening. It'd help if you spelled villains properly, but, again, not too surprising. It's okay. Let's put it out there. And this is, again, taking it all at face value. Plans could certainly change, but a lot of these do check out rather well. Same with Destiny Comet. People in the Destiny community believe that this is the code name for the third expansion. We had Curse of Osiris, and then Warmind just came out. The third expansion, as was kind of attributed to the original Destiny, was the Taken King. And that was one where it was repackaged and kind of a big improvement, which, let's be honest, for Destiny 2, they kind of need. Not saying that, Comet will be either included or will be the subtitle of this expansion, but at least that's the code name for this third and packaged and big improvement of an expansion. So think the Taken King, but whatever it will be for this fall. Then we have Borderlands 3. Not a secret that Borderlands 3 is being worked on, but people thought that, maybe a PAX would be a way to show off Borderlands 3 as it has been in the past. If they're holding the cards for E3, like say if Microsoft wants to pony up some money and say, hey, come show Borderlands 3 on our stage, then fair enough, that makes sense. Again, I think I saw people very surprised that oh my God, Borderlands 3. And to me, it was just yeah, that makes sense. It's been talked about. Randy Pitchford says, yeah, we're working on it. But it's just a matter of when are they going to actually show it then? Gears of War 5 is the same sort of thing. I mean, they set that up for a sequel in Gears of War 4. I think the big question, we talk about Microsoft's E3 this year and what could happen, what will be there. how do they find the balance between if Gears of War 5 is announced and Halo? What do they do with Halo? I think for me, like, I'm most interested, like, how does Microsoft handle the Halo franchise this year, where they're already behind the ball for talking about Halo 6? Do they delve into the Battle Royale pool, or do they hold things off to wait for the next console in a 2020 sort of cycle? That'll be really interesting to see this year, especially when they're talking about Gears of War 5 possibly being announced. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, it's one thing to say, oh, Square Enix is starting the development all over. They're almost going from the ground up. But hey, they're developing things pretty well. They're probably, I would guess, using the Final Fantasy 15 engine, the Luminous engine. They're familiar with it. They can help speed that development along. But the Walmart leak had PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, going back to 2015, they always said, coming first to PS4. I don't think it was going to always remain a console exclusive, but if you're going to start putting up pre-order pages for both games simultaneously, raises some questions. It's a little bit surprising, let's be honest. Splinter Cell is another one that Ubisoft, what new things could they show this year out of all their many, many studios? Splinter Cell definitely due for a new game, a new installment in the franchise, especially when we see Michael Ironside come back to voice Sam Fisher in the Ghost of Recon Wildlands sort of special DLC event there, to kind of show that the bridge has mended a little bit there. You would have to imagine that a Splinter Cell will be announced this year. So in a way, like, I'm not too surprised to see that there. I would be excited to actually see Splinter Cell revealed. I mean, gosh, the Sam Fisher in that Wildlands bit even remarked of how, there's this other guy, I thought he wore a bandana. Oh, he retired. Oh, that's a shame. I'm the only one left. Like, it would be a time to have a good stealth game like that, since Konami certainly is not going to do that. But Walmart also had, on the Ubisoft front, Assassin's Creed. Interesting to see that there, let's be honest, because I would have thought that, they learned from not churning things out every year. If they want to show it this year and say, but this is going to be a fall 2019 title, I suppose that's okay. But, honestly, maybe that way they'll get in front of the Kotaku and other outlets that are going to leak their game ultimately, right? But I think that'd be just a different strategy for Ubisoft. I'd be surprised if we saw another Assassin's Creed slated for this year. So just to see Assassin's Creed blank there, that was a bit surprising to me. That kind of got on that front. Just Cause 4. We talked about last episode where Square Enix had announced their E3 2018 plans, and how at 2015 with their last show, Just Cause 3 was the game that opened up that show. Honestly, like, a fun franchise, certainly. I didn't think that did that well to possibly warrant a sequel. But, if they're doing a new show this year, something like a Just Cause 4 would make sense to go along with the slate of games that they're going to promote. So, again, it's one that's like, I would not have said that, yes, Just Cause 4 is going to happen this year. So, I guess that's a bit of an E3 spoiler if that happens. So, yeah, go ahead, put that one down. It'll just make for a better Square Enix show. But the most surprising game out of all of these prospective titles is Rage 2. Rage 2, I think, would surprise a lot of people. Because Rage, while it did have some, I guess, fun mechanics, I mean, a good shotgun, kickback from people who played that, game did not do that well. Critically, commercially, at all. But if you think about it, if it's using like the id tech, the id sort of software, instead of going right to a Doom 2, I do wonder if it's the Doom developers, because I guess we might find out soon. If Doom, they went right from that to Rage 2 instead of Doom 2 to try to have, help Bethesda kind of revitalize that IP, that would be very interesting. I think that surprised a lot of people. There's a Twitter account now for Rage, officially verified and everything. I think it was at Rage Game. Now, they only had one tweet where they kind of put it out there. It's like, oh yeah, how about that? The game should be capitalized. You have it all lowercase. oh, where's this? And they kind of draw a logo with some hot pink font. Bethesda kind of adds some, they just say dude, like almost like a what are you doing sort of thing, which is kind of a tongue-in-cheek. Very sharp, responsive, and surprising PR. It's really clever social media managing. Whether or not they had the Twitter account before and they deleted all of their tweets before, or it was a brand new account and then they, just verified it very quickly. Really surprising on that front. Not as surprising though as them coming out and saying, oh, here's a picture of Big Ben, in England with that hot pink ink splayed across the clock face. And the clock is set to 5:14 p.m., which would expect that we're going to see something about Rage 2 properly revealed Monday, May 14th. Just speculation, but, keep an eye out on that. So I'm sure that they were probably trying to save that in the cards for Bethesda's E3 showcase. But, if they're going to be adaptive and play PR like that, then, kudos to them. Might as well try that. So those are the 11 games I found surprising. I mean, there were things like WWE 2K19, NBA 2K19. Like, yeah, okay, that's not shocking at all. It's going to happen. They're annualized series. But those 11 games I found, they were either misnamed, not too surprising, but, new, or just some weird quirks like that Final Fantasy VII on Xbox One thing. Very, very peculiar. So, it's just if you're keeping up with all the E3 leaks and buying in that hype, should be a lot of fun to follow for sure. That's what I have to say. When we come back, we will get to the callers. We can talk about the main topic, those headlines, games you're playing recently, really anything is on the table. That's all when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. Sorry, I was just looking over more of these pictures. So cute. But we're going to get right into our callers and let's see what you guys have to say. Joining us from North Carolina, Demetrius, welcome back to the Power Switch. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Yeah, thanks for calling in. What would you like to talk about today?
So I would like to talk about all the recent E3 leaks that have been going around, not just the Walmart leak, but there's been a few.
Yeah, it's that time of year. It's a magical time.
Yeah, it's fun a lot of the time, but it's like, they kind of run the gamut. Like, I feel like this Walmart leak, right, is pretty legit.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost sort of bittersweet for me because I'll be honest, I feel like, hey, like, I am excited for a lot of these games. I want to play them. Now I kind of feel like I probably know all of Microsoft's big announcements. And
it almost feels that way, right? It definitely kind of landed more Microsoft when you're talking about Forza and Gears. And gosh, is Final Fantasy a lot of those were Microsoft focused. That being said, like, we'd be missing, the first party, if that's all that there is. We'd be missing, possible third party, exclusives. Microsoft wouldn't be doing too much to kind of say, like, we're going to start delivering on the games front, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially since I felt like maybe we don't know much about Nintendo. I'll get to them in a minute, but I feel like Sony left the door ajar at least. I mean, Sony has basically confirmed what their conference is going to be, their 4 big titles and I guess some third-party stuff, but third-party stuff is usually not exclusive for Sony or Microsoft nowadays. Like, more often than not, a third-party game will be multi-platform.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe Capcom plays along. I mean, Sony is known to do that with Street Fighter V. People wonder, is something like Devil May Cry 5 open there as a possibility for a Sony paid exclusive? Could be possible.
Yeah, it does come around on occasion. It does. I don't know how they got Street Fighter to be exclusive, that kind of stuff. But, I felt like Microsoft, had a chance, and I'm speaking in past tense like it happened already. There very well could be more than what we saw there. But if that is like, I find it unlikely that we're going to get like a Gears and a Forza confirmed, and then Walmart has no other Microsoft games. You know what I mean? Like, and on the Nintendo side of things, it's like a different beast because Nintendo is so incredibly secretive. Like, when their Switch SKUs got leaked by GameStop,
right?
It was just Switch SKU, blah 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 blah. Like,
Yeah, they had like 11 of them, and they're all like blank, untitled SKU,
Yeah.
untitled. Yeah, pretty impressive, but does bode well for a good E3.
yeah. Now, to be quite fair, a couple of those could be like special editions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and a few of those would be like a Metroid Prime or Bayonetta that we technically already know about. But at the same time, we haven't seen gameplay for either one of those titles. Like for me, I don't know, I might be unique, but like seeing anything about it, actually, even if it would just be CG, like for a game that we haven't seen before, is almost as good as a reveal.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, it does make me wonder what's going to happen with Metroid Prime 4 this year. I almost wonder if like you just take some time, work on it. But I feel like just at least let us see this version of Samus, like how you're rendering her, and just like I don't need a long trailer. Just again, if the game's in development, if it's late 2019, yes, by all means work on it. But we can't be sitting there with just the logo teaser. Like that can't be it for a year and a half, 2 years. Like when we get to next E3.
Yeah, that would hurt. That would sting. I know Nintendo said like they'll be focusing on 2018 titles, and I sincerely doubt Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in 2018. They said something similar last year,
Right,
and Metroid Prime 4 was announced last year.
Exactly. So they'll sneak a couple things in there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't need much. Like I don't need to give me a 20-minute gameplay showcase.
Oh gosh, no.
Give me like a vertical slice, like the other companies do. Like just somewhere in the running, fairly well.
Yeah, and Scott in our chat brings up a good point. I mean, if you want to show more, save it for the treehouse. Like that's what it's there for.
Yeah, and that's why they have it too. It's like the E3 leaks kind of run the gamut. Like you get the Walmart spoilers, Nintendo leaks, which are largely real, doesn't tell you anything. It's really interesting to keep track of these. Although, like I said, it could be sweet. Now I kind of know what to look forward to.
Yeah, and there'll be more that'll be popping up over the weeks, and we'll keep an eye on them. It's at the very least, it's fun to know what's out there. What can we look back on and say that was wrong, that was right, and just in a way just to document them going forward. Well, Damone, I know it's nice of you to call in. You're out on mobile. You're out in wherever you're at, and things are getting a little choppy. So I'll let you go here. But thanks so much for calling in. Really appreciate the time. People can reach you on Twitter at @D_Damone, DAMON. And thanks again, man. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And joining us from Michigan, Scott, welcome back to the PowerSwitch. How are you?
I'm doing well, Pete. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Just thinking about the puppy.
I know. You were just telling me about it. Sounds so damn adorable.
I know.
No puppy bones. They don't have bones. It's incredible.
It should make our E3 plans interesting, though. A little more wiggly, that's for sure.
We'll have to make like an E3 bandana or something for the pup.
He'll be the PowerSwitch puppy. What would you like to talk about today?
The Power Puppy? Man, I don't know how I should feel about the leaks. Like at one point I'm like, oh, this is so cool, but at the other time it's like, oh, you're ruining the majesty and the splendor of E3, What is your takes on leaks? Do you like leaks, or do you wish there were no leaks and everything was just saved for E3?
I think there's something to be said about the surprises, right? But this one in particular, Jesse in our chat says
like
Pupper Switch. That's a good one. I like when there are big surprises, right? But I also like speculation. These ones that come out a month or so in advance, unless they're a big, retailer flub like this was, it's fun to see what people think are going to happen, right? So, because there can be some nuggets in there that, okay, sure. And I won't take too much stock in it, but it's just it's a possibility. For this one, there are only a couple really actual, whoa, okay, surprises. And I would say that's, Rage 2, that's Just Cause 4. I would not have guessed that those are going to happen. And if you want to throw Assassin's Creed in there, if Ubisoft is going to show the next Assassin's Creed and say, well, it's fall 2019, okay, that's a nice little pleasant surprise. But everything else, yeah, that checks out, or it's not that surprising.
Right.
As long as you follow the game industry and you're paying attention to the news of the day, there are still going to be surprises at the end of the day. Like, exactly. Everything is not going to leak. And I think, in a way, part of the intrigue is, seeing, a lot of the games at work. So even when it comes to PlayStation's announcements, we don't know what the gameplay for Death Stranding looks like. I'd like to know more about the story behind The Last of Us 2. Anything you can give me on Spider-Man, bring it on. And Ghost of Tsushima, we had that one trailer and nothing since Paris Games Week last year. So I'm excited to see more about those four. And then, yes, whatever else on top. So I don't think there's going to be much spoiled per se from that. So I appreciate, back to your question, I appreciate the leaks for speculation's sake, but at the same time, leaks will happen. I mean, it's going to be tough to say turn off for the next month or so before E3 if that's really what you want to go dark. You won't be listening to this podcast. Like, they hate to break it to you, because we're going to talk about those things and kind of gauge excitement levels here. But it's just the way it is.
I completely agree. It's I have to give massive credit to the Rage studio and Bethesda for how they're handling it, because I think it's been genius with the initial retweet, like marking up the box art how it's the wrong font and it's not in all caps and circled and everything like that. I think they've handled it really, really well and made it kind of a funny spin to it. I'm curious though if they were planning to announce Rage 2 on the 19th or that game on the 19th that they're leading up to now prior to the tweet.
Is it
prior to the leak.
Is it the 19th or the 14th? I thought I was reading that as 5/14. But whatever it is, it's whatever that day was. You do have to wonder, like, were they holding it for their conference, or has this leak now kind of changed things? And I mean, kudos to them for actively moving on the fly if that's the case. And it's probably better for a game like that to kind of get out in front. Part of the E3 hype, as well as we've seen for the last several years, is what games do not want to be lost in the big shuffle. The weeks leading up to it, like, you're going to have announcements that are going to try to have their day in the news sun. So this may be just the case for that, because Rage 2, I would not have thought Rage gets a sequel. But if it's the Doom guys over at id Tech, I mean, they want to say let's try to bring Rage back and see if we can revitalize it like we did Doom. Hey, by all means.
Yeah, and I mean, just getting out in front of things for the limelight and stuff. I mean, we've seen entire publishers do that. We saw EA do that with their own little press conference that they started last year, the EA Play Experience or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Microsoft did that. They moved up from Monday to Sunday to get a day on Sony, and so it's certainly not surprising. But I love how they've been adjusting to the tweet from the leak from Walmart and everything. So that's been very cool.
Yeah, and Pete Hines, the head of marketing and PR over at Bethesda, I mean, he's great. Like, he knows how to message things well. So I'm sure he has a partial hand in that.
Oh, definitely. Sony, I'm not too worried about. Like, I think a lot of the big Sony exclusives at this point are being held for the PlayStation 5 reveal.
Yeah. Anything new, like a Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, save it for PlayStation 5. God of War definitely sets itself up for future sequels, but save it for PlayStation 5. Like, you definitely have the roadmap here for PS4.
The next God of War is going to be interesting because God of War 2 came out when the PS3 was already out.
Ah, that's a good point. Yep.
So I'm going to be curious to see if the next God of War comes out when the PS5 is already out, but at that point I'm pretty sure there would be a PS4 and a PS5 version. Yeah,
that does make me wonder, especially about things like Death Stranding and Last of Us Part 2, which are, I mean, end of 2019 at best, right?
Right.
Unless if they want to surprise us and give earlier time frames than that, by all means. But PS5, I'm sure they're going to take a cue from Microsoft. It's going to be backwards compatible with PS4 going forward. They're not going to mix up the architecture that much. So you could see a PS4 and PS5 version, certainly. Just like what third parties did with PS3 and PS4 for the first year or so.
Oh, exactly. And even now we're getting remasters of PS3 games.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to the point. I actually have an article coming out soon that I wrote on Irrational Passions, kind of reflecting on my 30, after turning 30 this year, reflecting on just how far the gaming ecosphere has come in 30 years and where I kind of see it in another 30 years. And one of the points I make, especially with the big three, is I think we're getting to the point where we can't get much better looking visuals.
Yeah.
I think within 15 to 20 years, we'll be at photorealism pretty much in games. And then it's just going to be, how can we make the tools to develop them cheaper and make them quicker, things like that. But I'm not going to expect much of a visual jump from PS4 to PS5 or an Xbox One to Xbox 2, etc.
Yeah, it will not be as distinct as it was between PS3 and 4 and Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Like, not even close. AI is surely going to be another big thing. I mean...
Exactly.
God,
it's going to be more about the AI and populating scenes and having it run at higher resolutions and
frame rates, keeping frame rates strong.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you see that video with Google and Google Duplex and how they had their AI call the salon and make an appointment and throw in ums to sound more human? Like, it's just unbelievable, man. Like, if that's what Google's doing, like, where can games go from there, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. And I think VR is just, with the Vive Pro now being wireless, like you being able to run it wirelessly, that's what's going to really take off VR, I feel, is now that when you start getting lighter wireless headsets, that you don't have to worry about all the cords and getting tangled. And once they do that, and then once they can somehow make the sensors shrink or get rid of those altogether or put them on the headset itself, that'll be another big thing. But visual wise, I think we're nearing the apex, the kind of as high as we can go without being 100% photorealistic. So
yeah,
with the PS5, I think we'll get for a while a PS4 and a PS5 version of any game that comes out.
It feels like, you know, for as far as photorealism goes, like at the end of PS3 to the end of PS4 here, like we've gone from, like, if I had to put an estimate on, like 85 to 95% photorealistic. And like there's going to be that last 5% go, you know, we'll have to battle the uncanny valley and things like that. But there's that last bit, and it's like, you're right. Like it's tough to get much better than it currently is when you could see certain leaps and the move away from polygons and things like that. So that's a very interesting point. We'll have to keep an eye on that on irrationalpassions.com.
Yeah, and looking at what they can do in films, like with, I think it was Captain America Civil War 3, where you had a young Robert Downey Jr. looking.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, that technology is going to get cheaper, and then put that into games and have that running not in cutscenes but in actual gameplay.
And then, yeah, right, the whole Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia in Rogue One. Some people were weirded out by it, but, you know, some people could have had it be totally believable. It's getting interesting on that front. That's a very interesting talking point. I'm very fascinated to read that, and I'll have to check out that piece. Hope everyone else does too. But until then, people can follow you on Twitter at SolidSnake120. You're also on Twitch at SolidSnake120 for your Tales run throughout the year, playing all the different Tales games. That's very exciting.
Yep, I am halfway through the series. I'm currently working through Tales of the Abyss right now, and then with Tales of Vesperia, I'll be doing a 24-hour live stream. So.
Oh boy, well yeah, you're definitely on a good pace. So people definitely check out there, and whenever this piece goes up, follow it there.
Definitely.
Well, thanks so much for calling in. Yeah. Oh, excellent. Good. Well, thanks so much for calling in, Scott. Really appreciate the time. You have a good one. All right.
You too, sir. Shall see you soon.
All right, we'll do. All right, guys. Thanks so much for calling in. When we come back, we will get to what I've been playing as well as the games that are coming out this week. That's when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. This week's Tempo Control game is brought to you by Hyrule Warriors. You can find a new video game music top 10 list from a specific game soundtrack every Tuesday over at youtube.com/rhymeswithasia. So what have I been playing? Honestly, not too much, but I will give you some that I have started to download to my PS4. I put in my pre-order for the digital deluxe version of Detroit Become Human. We talked about that a couple shows ago where, like, yeah, say what you will about David Cage, I'm pretty interested in that. And at the very least, living in the Metro Detroit area, when you're calling yourself that, plus I also have just a fascination with Kara way back when. I was floored when that came out, and so it's really cool to see that come full circle in a way, right? So yeah, the digital deluxe version of Detroit Become Human. It comes not only with like a dynamic theme, whatever. It's okay. But also the PS4 version of Heavy Rain. Now, Heavy Rain, one of my favorite PS3 experiences. So I'd like to try that and give that another go in the lead up to Detroit Become Human. Of course, PlayStation Plus members can download Beyond Two Souls, the game that came out between Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human. So kind of if you do that combo, you're going to get all of those games along with it. I'm excited to give Heavy Rain another go, though, before Detroit Become Human, which is a week and a half away. But with a puppy, who knows if I'll have time to be playing things as much. She'll be an interesting mix-up of things there. Games that are coming out this week, you have Dragon's Crown Pro. That's on Tuesday, May 15th on PS4. Interesting thing with that game, this is the Vanillaware game that's, kind of action there. But you can bring your save file, apparently, from the PS3 and Vita versions of the game over to this new PS4 version. So that's certainly exciting for those who have played that game before. Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux, Tuesday, May 15th on 3DS. Another version of that game. Good to see 3DS get more games, even though we'd like to see more things on Switch. Hitman Definitive Edition. This isn't too different from, the Season 1 release of Hitman. The big difference here is that the Season 1 was kind of under the Square Enix publishing there. I mean, IO Interactive, still controls the property and all that, but this is now Warner Brothers publishing the game with the IP and adding probably some more skins, DLC things in there. So, but Hitman, a very, very well acclaimed game from that year. I think that was 2016 that came out. So give that a shot if you have not yet. And then also Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition comes to Nintendo Switch on Friday, May 18th. And man, if you have not played Hyrule Warriors, whether it was Legends or all the other releases since the 2014 release, give that one a good time. That's a fun game to try. Like if you've never played a Musou, the Dynasty Warriors like games, the Legend of Zelda is applied just right here, and there's a ton of content, so many characters, all the DLC packs they've included over the years. If you have not tried Hyrule Warriors, the Definitive Edition is the way to go on Switch, and it looks way better than it did on Wii U, so that's a huge plus. That'll do it for this episode of the Power Switch. We are hosted by RhymesWithAsia.com, and we're on YouTube and Twitch at Rhymes with Asia. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Power Switch. I am at Pete Speakeasy. You can email us any questions, concerns, comments, or opportunities at powerswitchpod@gmail.com. You can subscribe to the Power Switch on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you could be so kind as to leave a review, that would really help as well. Most importantly, to participate in future episodes, you should join our community on Discord by visiting rhymeswithasia.com/call. It's a small but growing community, so now is the perfect time to have your voice heard on this podcast. So a YouTube video to watch for this one, let's go with Yong Yeah. Yong Yeah, I first followed him with his Metal Gear Solid 5 coverage back in the day, but he's been doing some good kind of video game sort of like side features, like video essays in a way. Check out his one on EA and how their recent statements about loot boxes show that they have learned nothing. It's an interesting perspective and kind of taking quotes and how they're adapting, especially when they had to present their financials, because that's the key thing at the end of the day. They have to make the shareholders happy. And so what did they tell them? How does that reflect? Have they learned from the Battlefront 2 incident? All these things going forward with, FIFA and Madden and the Ultimate Teams there. So check that out. Young Ya is a great YouTuber, especially if you like gaming content. So I recommend checking that out. Well, now I get to go puppy-proof my condo, and that should be a whole lot of fun. And then we get to go buy things tomorrow. Follow me on social media, Twitter at Pete Speakeasy. I'll be posting pictures, more than just what I've posted here in this edit. So should be fun. Things are about to change in my life, so that'll be exciting. Well, stay tuned to our Discord channel as everything develops, and regardless whether it's live or on your own time, I look forward to you joining us for our next episode. With that, I'm Peter Spezia. Until next time, switch up, call in, game on.